They say love conquers all, but Machiavelli knew better. He warned that certain behaviors, once tolerated, don't just weaken your power, they destroy it from the inside. The problem isn't always the enemies outside your walls, it's the people you've forgiven one too many times. The flatterers. The cowards. The manipulators in moral clothing. And every time you excuse these behaviors in the name of love, loyalty, or empathy, you trade your throne for comfort. In this video, we expose the 7 unforgivable behaviors Machiavelli would never tolerate, even from those closest to him. Fire if you've ever been betrayed by someone you gave too many chances to, hit that like button now. Speech balloon comment, forgiveness has a limit, if you're ready to protect your power. Bell and subscribe for more brutal truths and timeless strategies that cut through the noise, because survival in this world demands more than kindness. It demands clarity. Machiavelli understood that loyalty is not measured during moments of triumph, but in the shadows of crisis. When everything around you begins to fall apart, your status, your finances, your influence, that's when masks slip. And those who vanish in your darkest hour. They've spoken more loudly with their absence than any words could. These are the people who thrive in your light but can't stomach your storm. They justify their disappearance with excuses, I didn't want to bother you, or I was going through my own issues. But underneath those words is a simple truth, they didn't value you without the power you offered them. This type of betrayal is especially dangerous because it disguises itself as self-preservation. They don't stab you in the back, they simply melt into the background when you're bleeding, only to return when the crown is shining again. And the moment you forgive this without consequence, you set a precedent. You teach them that loyalty is optional, and you teach others that power can be deserted without penalty. Machiavelli would consider this a failure of leadership. In his view, when someone fails you at your lowest, they forfeit the right to stand beside you at your highest. Never forget who disappeared when your hands were tied, and never let them close again. Cowardice isn't always visible. It doesn't always wear panic or fear. Sometimes, it wears a calm face and speaks in soft, moral tones, telling you to wait, to pause, to not stoop to their level. But Machiavelli saw this clearly for what it was, a quiet rot in leadership. Cowardice disguised as wisdom is far more dangerous than open rebellion. It makes you hesitate when you should act. It convinces you to preserve peace instead of enforcing order. And in power, hesitation is fatal. A leader who hesitates infects everyone beneath them. Doubt spreads like wildfire. Subordinates begin questioning your strength. Followers start listening to louder voices. Enemies sense weakness, not because you're outnumbered, but because you're uncertain. And uncertainty, in the world of power, is blood in the water. Machiavelli believed that when leadership falters, the structure beneath collapses, not because of the enemy, but because of the vacuum. A coward in a position of influence does more damage than 10 enemies outside the gate. Forgiving that kind of weakness isn't noble, it's a betrayal of the system you're supposed to protect. Leadership demands decisiveness, not softness. And when someone in your circle whispers fear under the mask of caution, you don't reward them with forgiveness, you replace them with someone who can hold the line. To the untrained ear, flattery sounds like loyalty. Praise, compliments, admiration, they feel good. But Machiavelli warned, flattery is not affection. It is manipulation cloaked in sweetness. The flatterer isn't trying to serve you, they're trying to disarm you. They study what you want to hear, feed it to you endlessly, and weaken your ability to see danger clearly. A constant stream of validation dulls your judgment. You stop questioning, you stop evaluating, and worst of all, you stop listening to the truth. The danger of flattery isn't that it's false. It's that it feels true. It massages your ego, confirms your biases, and builds a cushion around your power that blinds you to reality. Machiavelli saw flatterers not as mere yes-men, but as parasites. They attach themselves to power, inflate it, and manipulate from the inside. The moment you start trusting their words more than your own instincts, you've already handed over control. Forgiving this behavior, especially when you know deep down that the praise is performative, is the same as allowing a traitor into your war room. The more comfortable they get, the more influence they have over your decisions. And eventually, you're no longer leading. You're being led, by someone who says, yes, with a smile and plots with silence. Flattery must never be tolerated. Real loyalty speaks the truth, even when it cuts. In Machiavelli's world, perception is power. It's not just what you do, it's what people believe you're willing to do. And nothing erodes that belief faster than public defiance that goes unpunished. When someone within your ranks challenges you openly, disrespecting, mocking, or undermining your authority, and you let it slide, you've just issued a silent invitation for others to do the same. Public defiance is never just a moment, it's a message. It tells the room, this leader tolerates rebellion. It signals weakness, or worse, indifference. And from there, the infection spreads. People watch how you respond. They study your silence. They test the edges of your boundaries, one by one. Until your rule isn't enforced by respect, it's tolerated out of habit. And once fear and loyalty are gone, you are no longer in control. Machiavelli didn't believe in cruelty for its own sake, but he understood the value of swift, visible consequences. A challenge ignored becomes a revolution invited. Forgiving public defiance may feel diplomatic, even noble, but to those watching, it looks like surrender. And in the world of power, every concession is remembered, not with gratitude, but with calculation. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be cruel. But you must be decisive, or your authority will evaporate the moment it's questioned. Of all the behaviors Machiavelli warned against, ingratitude after mercy is among the most corrosive. It's not just betrayal, it's betrayal wrapped in false humility. When you show someone mercy, when you give them a second chance, protect them, overlook a flaw or even shield them from punishment, you expect, at the very least, loyalty in return. But the ungrateful don't see mercy as generosity. They see it as weakness. These are the people who take your kindness and turn it into entitlement. Who accept your protection not with reverence, but with calculation. And once they get what they want, they walk away, or worse, switch sides. Machiavelli saw this as a failure of strategic discipline. He believed mercy must be given sparingly and with intent. If not, it becomes a weapon in the enemy's hand, because the person you saved will one day use your leniency against you, believing they are beyond consequence. The ungrateful thrive in environments without memory. They rewrite history to erase your help. They make you feel guilty for expecting respect. And if you forgive them, again and again, you don't earn their loyalty, you train them to exploit you. In a world of power, forgiveness without wisdom is fuel for betrayal. Mercy isn't the problem. Misplaced mercy is. You don't cut them off to be cold, you cut them off because your survival depends on it. There are few things more dangerous than a highly competent person who isn't loyal to your mission. They're smart. They're skilled. They speak well, act well, and often deliver results. But beneath the surface, their loyalty isn't to you, it's to their own rise. Machiavelli saw these individuals not as assets, but as silent rivals, waiting for the right moment to step over you. And if you're not paying attention, you'll promote them right into position to do it. The threat isn't just their talent, it's their lack of tether. They benefit from your system, but they feel no responsibility to protect it. They treat alliances like stepping stones. And when the time comes to choose between helping you or helping themselves, you won't even be a factor in the equation. Ambition is not the enemy. Blind ambition is. And when it's not anchored in loyalty, it becomes predatory. These people don't sabotage with knives, they sabotage with smiles. They wait until you're vulnerable, then slide into the seat you didn't realize was at risk. And if you've forgiven them for previous slights because of their skills, you've already handed them leverage. Machiavelli believed every talented figure near power must be tested not for skill, but for alignment. You don't elevate someone simply because they're useful. You elevate them only when they've proven they won't become your replacement. Never confuse excellence with allegiance. One serves you. The other watches you, and waits. This is the most insidious form of betrayal, the kind that hides behind righteousness. Moral manipulators don't challenge you with weapons or open rebellion. They use guilt, shame, and idealism to undermine your authority. They present themselves as the voice of reason, the conscience of the group, the ones who just want to do what's right. But what they're really doing is shifting power, slowly, subtly, by painting your leadership as flawed, selfish, or corrupt under the veil of virtue. Machiavelli saw this tactic clearly. He knew that moral purity can be a strategic disguise. When someone uses the language of ethics not to uplift but to control, to pressure, or to frame your decisions as inherently wrong, they're not fighting for justice. They're fighting for influence. Their goal isn't improvement, it's domination through appearance. And the moment you start bending to their narrative, you lose the frame. You go from being the leader to being on trial. Forgiving this behavior, even once, is perilous. Because these people don't believe they're betraying you, they believe they're better than you. And when people think their morality outranks your authority, they become emboldened to sabotage you in the name of principle. Machiavelli would never tolerate such figures in his circle. Not because they were loud, but because they were quietly corrosive. In the end, power must be pragmatic. And anyone who uses morality as a sword instead of a compass must be cut off before they turn your court into a courtroom, and make you the defendant in your own kingdom. External enemies are easy to see. They declare themselves. They compete openly. But the real danger, the one Machiavelli feared most, comes not from outside the walls, but from within your trusted circle. These are not strangers, they're people you've elevated, helped, forgiven, protected. They know your patterns. They know your moments of doubt. And they use proximity as a tool, not a sign of allegiance. This kind of betrayal is slow, almost invisible at first. It begins with silence when your name is under fire. With hesitation when loyalty is needed most. With subtle sabotage disguised as concern. And because it's quiet, you often dismiss it. You give the benefit of the doubt. You rationalize, they would never. But Machiavelli would ask, why not them? He understood that power is not lost in a single blow, it's eroded by trust misplaced, over time. You don't fall because an outsider attacked. You fall because someone inside opened the door. And every time you forgive a small betrayal, a quiet disrespect, a hidden act of selfishness, you hand them the blueprint for your undoing. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who hides behind familiarity. The one you never thought to question. And if you don't learn to detect those subtle cracks, the faint glances, the absence of defense, the too perfect timing, you'll protect the wrong people and punish the loyal. In power, paranoia isn't weakness, it's awareness. And awareness is what keeps your crown from crumbling. Leadership demands clarity, but many fail not because they lack intelligence, but because they confuse softness for wisdom. They believe that being understanding is always right, that giving chances earns loyalty, that forgiveness is a show of strength. And while that may work in theory, Machiavelli understood the brutal reality: people do not respect what they can manipulate. When you tolerate small acts of disloyalty, when you excuse behaviors that should be confronted, when you delay consequences in the name of peace, you don't earn respect. You erode it. Every time you look the other way, you teach others that boundaries are flexible, that loyalty isn't essential, that betrayal isn't costly. And over time, your kingdom becomes a collection of opportunists, each one smiling, each one watching, each one calculating when your guard will drop next. Machiavelli believed in ruling with principle, but also with firmness. Mercy should be calculated. Kindness should be chosen, not automatic. And above all, discipline must never be delayed. The reason many leaders fall isn't because of overwhelming enemies. It's because they allowed rot to fester inside the house, all in the name of being understanding. And when it finally collapses, they wonder how it happened, when in truth, the warnings were ignored out of fear of being too harsh. There is a line between wisdom and weakness. Leaders must know where it is, and never cross it. The harsh truth is this: love, loyalty, and forgiveness mean nothing if they blind you to betrayal. Machiavelli didn't warn us to become cold, he warned us to become clear. Because power isn't taken all at once, it's chipped away by the very people you once defended. The flatterers. The silent deserters. The ones who twist virtue into control. If you don't learn to recognize these patterns, and act, you're not leading. You're bleeding. This isn't about paranoia. It's about precision. It's about protecting the empire you've built, your time, your energy, your soul, from those who only love you when it benefits them. Fire like this video if you've ever paid the price for forgiving what should have been a warning. Speech balloon comment, clarity over comfort, if you're ready to lead with your eyes open. Bell subscribe now for more raw, unfiltered wisdom that empowers you to protect your throne in a world full of smiling betrayal. Machiavelli didn't flinch. Neither should you.